Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I have a relatively new Gladiator Beast list. Maybe some of you have heard about this. Maybe some of you have seen this, perhaps even. It is a little different from your standard Gladiator Beast list. We have the deck profile in the bottom right-hand corner and the actual replay. The only one I've seen of this deck being used. And I have covered up the name of the duelist who received the beating. Out of respect for this duelist, because I'm sure they don't want anyone to see this. But I have the creator and the user of this deck, so, sir, if you want to introduce yourself and talk about this deck a little bit, I'm going to play this replay in the background as we talk through the deck list and some of your card decisions and kind of see what's in the mind as this goes through, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Greenie, or Green, just kind of how other people might call me. I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! On and off since, basically since the game started, 2003. Haven't really had a chance to go out to regional events or anything, just because of time constraints, but mostly I've just been playing online. I got into Gladiator Base back in the day, to a degree. I did pick them up again, like on Duel Links for a while. Helped write a guide on that at the time, but then recently or not recently, but a couple years ago, it was where I got to know Jake through my buddy Logan, who introduced me to the team that Jake was on.
Good guy.
So and Jake, as everybody knows, basically one of the best GB players, as far as anybody would be concerned. So, but overall, that's kind of a quick rundown of everything. But for me, I like to experiment with different things. But we can go for Gladiator Beast, but we can go more into it kind of as we go on.
Yeah. So you said you like to experiment. For everyone out there, Greenie is kind of not a trash player, but a player who plays trash decks, if you will.
Yes.
You like to just find things and test things. I take it you don't take Yu-Gi-Oh! Very seriously, to the point of, I don't know if I've ever seen you even enter tournaments, but you like just being, what's the word? I don't even know how to describe it, but you like finding, I guess, trash decks and just seeing what fits.
So I guess the idea is I like building decks, and I would like to be able to enter more tournaments. I have a very busy schedule that kind of conflicts with that, so I would have to make room for it.
Fair.
And it's hard to be able to fit it in. So in the time that I do have occasionally, I do help work on different deck ideas. I helped initially, like when Dark Gaia, what was it, a year and a half ago, or when it managed to get its first top, I helped a bit with the creation of that deck. Okay. I didn't have direct input or super direct input, but I did have some last minute work with Rob the Man the day before that he was able to top when he topped originally with Flip Dragons. So
Rob the Man, very cool guy, very kind individual for sure.
Yeah. So I do have a little bit of experience just kind of talking back and forth with different players, and just kind of going over deck building choices and things like that.
Everyone always talks about how handsome Rob the Man is, but no one really talks about how nice he is. And I'm here to say Rob the Man has an incredible personality. But let's look into the deck. So you just returned an interesting card, or what did you just use? You just used an interesting card called Indomitable Gladiator Beast. For those of you who don't know, I have it pulled up on the screen right now. Quick play spell, target a face-up GB. Until the end phase, that monster gains 500 attack, which means you can use it in the damage step. Not the damage calc, but the damage step. While it's in the graveyard, you can return 2 Gladiator Beast monsters from your grave to your deck, and then add that to your hand. So, kind of walk us through with that card. It seems to be that card's the, I suppose, centralized piece of this list. And if you want to walk the viewers through this atrocity.
Yeah, so basically the premise of this deck is that the way that I like to look at Indomitable Gladiator Beast.
Did you say premise?
No, the premise of the deck, or the
premise?
I'm sorry. Yeah, the premise. My bad.
Oh, good.
But I know different ways to say it. But the way that I like to look at Indom, right, is I'd like to break down cards to their basic fundamentals. It is effectively Sinister Serpent of Edison format because you are able to return a card from your grave to your hand. Now, it does have its boosting effect that you can use, which is very utilizable, but I use it as if it's a free +1. In turn, what that makes it so I'm able to do is I'm able to take advantage of stuff like Phoenix Wing Wind Blast and effectively making it a free discard, or it's able to work in a way that will I can discard Gladiator Beast and then I can get Indom back later. So there's a bit of cohesion there that it's able to operate off of using stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the premise, sorry, but basically the idea is that I can use Raikou and I can use Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, as they are very flexible removal for the deck. And what I want to do with it is I want to create holes to allow me to just basically punch with my Glads and generate their +1s that way, because I am very much into playing the advantage game with this deck.
Yep. Real quick, for anyone who is watching this, I had my computer turned up really loud, so it's very possible that my very sensitive mic here was capturing you talking through the computer, and OBS was capturing you talking. So maybe there's a terrible echo. I do apologize for that for anyone watching. I'm trying to mess with the sounds and adjust things because that's my biggest complaint up to this point. But no, I think that does generally make sense in terms of let's get some milling action going, put Gladiator Beast in the graveyard, use this card that just recycles itself back to the hand to just keep going. Now, I guess that I said in the last video that Gladiator Beast is this deck that kind of, in my opinion, outside of like maybe Fords and Zombies, I suppose, maybe more than Zombies, abuses the graveyard more than any other deck. And you just take it to the next level where you're like, hey, let's also mess with the grave in like a completely new way that also allows you to recycle things like the Darius or Questy that typically, once they're gone, which is very tough to play around occasionally, and you don't fall into that, which is very unique, very cool. But you have Octavius. Why do you have Octavius? And again, I am covering up the player's name who is on the receiving end of this beatdown out of respect for that player. No one needs to know who is getting demolished by this deck. By Indomitable. No one needs to know who's losing to Indomitable Gladiator Beast like this. But why Octavius? What's up with that? You just
okay,
drew
so
what are the chances?
Yeah. So
One.
the idea of Octavius is that I'm on Respite, I'm on Phoenix Wing Wind Blast as cards, so it is generally not going to get caught in the hand, which is the worry that a lot of people would have. The idea that I'm hoping for is that I can either discard it or I will mill it and it will be in the grave. Now, what can happen is if I have a Test Tiger play, I can Test Tiger into Darius, and I can use Darius to special summon Octavius, who no longer has its effect, and it turns into basically a 2,500 beater on the board. So it puts out 4,200 damage basically between the two of them right there.
And let it be known, Octavius plus Gladiator Beast or Indomitable Gladiator Beast is 3,000, which is pretty significant. And Indomitable Gladiator Beast is not once per turn. I believe it comes up here where, if I remember, used on Ready Area, return it back to your hand, and then use on Ready Area again to get Ready Area up to 2,200 to swing over. It was something. I don't remember what you attacked over.
I believe it was Breaker. It was either Breaker or Sidra, one of the two.
It had to be Cyber because you just equipped it to a Darius to sweep over the Breaker. But
yeah.
It's was this match only 2 or 3 games?
2 games. I 2-0'd for that one.
You 2-0'd this unfortunate duelist that no one knows who it is.
Yep.
If you do want to know who it is, the replay is in the Edison War League chat. So this was for War League, and was this the only game you played for War League? If I remember correctly?
Yes.
So
I came in. Yeah, I came in the last week. Basically, they Edison Medicine was down a player. They were have been been down kind of throughout the league. So the team captain basically asked me. He said, "Hey, you can play. We don't necessarily need you because when in War League, I would more play like Vayu Turbo, or I would play just like standard glads. But this is something that I had been cooking for a very long time, and this was my first game back after a 14-month break, not playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
14 months, yeah.
So yeah. So this was basically, hey, I'm just coming back in for the week to basically fill in for that week. Was how this match went. So the deck that I had picked up, with the way that the build is, I will say that it has changed since what this particular build was from a couple months ago, or sorry, from when that match took place. It was more or less in the middle of what I was messing with, or a couple ideas that I was messing with for it that I wanted to be able to test out and just kind of be able to see where everything was at. So it's like the side deck isn't necessarily hard set, and there are a few cards in the main deck that have been very flexible with their changes.
Yeah.
But
we're rolling through right now, and this other player was up like I think 7 or 8 cards to your 3 cards. And I should have shared this with you so you could talk through the replay. Mistake on my part, but you just brought out the Heraclinos and then used the wonderful play of one of my favorite cards, a Shallow Grave, incredible card, to get out of Gazaris and blow up his board. And for some unknown reason, this player brought back a Gorz instead of a Dupe Frog. Who is this guy? What was he thinking? And then here it is. Yeah, use double Indomitable Gladiator Beast to swing over the Cyber Dragon. And I believe we're coming up on essentially the last play of the game where Octavius does see the field. I think on this tag right here. Yep, there it is. Octavius to destroy the Heavy Storm to end the game, and a Questy to add back that Indomitable Gladiator Beast. So what a way to end the game with Octavius and Indomitable Gladiator Beast.
Well, now I will say that there were I did get a few critiques on with I had people questioning why I decided to go Herc there. Like that was the biggest question of a person they had a full hand. Why would I go Herc? And the reason specifically is that just kind of with the way that they were playing the game, I did not read that they had. I read that they were monster flooded in their hand because they were playing forks. But I was reading that they didn't have their spells, but they also didn't have a Caius ready to go.
Okay, so they probably weren't very good at the game.
Well, no, I wasn't going to say that. I was saying that I didn't read that they had a Caius in hand.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting. It looks like that this player had double Caius in hand, if what I'm seeing is correct. With Swap Frog, with the ability to discard a special summon Swap Frog, and then summon Caius to banish your Heraclinos, swing over your Questy, and then you only have Octavius on board. So that's interesting that they scooped.
You mean after he dug through and he was just looking for his Caius? Just this.
Oh, is that what it was? I thought that he had the Caius in hand.
No. So he had his 2 swaps. He top decked the BrainCon, and then he was just going digging afterwards for everything, just to be like, oh, I didn't draw it, because like in the conversation that was in the side, that was where he was saying that, oh, I didn't have it. So, he was saying, oh.
Yeah. The viewers will never know who it is that this happened to unless they watch the game live, because I have the name covered up. But what an interesting player. I'm glad they didn't show any hate or anything at the end of the match towards anyone in particular. But do you have any, I guess, final admissions on this deck, or what are you working on next? I know there was someone in the comment in my last video who actually commented specifically almost about this style deck, which is why, sent you a message, thought, wow, I'm friends with Green, the guy who just played this. Let's bring him on and see what's going on with something completely different from what we've seen before. Any final thoughts on the deck or with what you're working with next?
Well, I will kind of give a breakdown of the deck style. So, like, you have Trooper, you have Raikou, you're trying to mill. Raikou's and Phoenix. Now, I will say that or with current builds, I've incorporated more backer removal directly into it, but pretty much it's just where it wants to simplify the game state.
Yeah.
And then how it wants to play is tag a quest, grab a chariot back, and then add an Indom back to hand. And ultimately, that kind of turns into what is effectively a one-card play, but your opponent has to take 2 to 3 cards to work their way through it, generally speaking. And then with a quest and chariot engraved, hopefully you have another GB that is already engraved, but if you have to spin both of them back, you can do that, and you can get your Indom back. The other benefit that this deck has, and this is something that I've talked a lot with Jake on, in particular, is that it has the ability to allow Laquari to be able to tag out into a 2100 attacker.
That's
just
true.
because a quest could grab an engrave Indom, you're able to set that, and so a quest is able to boost up to a 2100 beater.
Yeah. And actually, I guess looking at the side deck too, what I do enjoy is the ability to side skill drain to kind of make those Indomitable a little bit better, but also Octavius with skill drain can be pretty tough to deal with for a lot of decks. I remember back during 2008, that became popular in my locals because there's so many Gladiator Beasts that the Gladiator Beast players wanted to be anti-Gladiator Beasts, so they started maining Octavius with double, sometimes triple skill drain in the main, just to deal with that.
Yep, and then one other thing too that I will say for anybody watching as well is one of the biggest mind games that this deck plays is my set monster a Hoplomys or is my set monster a Raikou?
That's
and
true.
you have to play 2 completely different ways when you're attacking into a mon to basically be safe from it, because if you were attacking with like a higher attack monster or something like that of high value, you want to be able to run over the Hoplomys. If you're trying to say inch your way in with, like, say if I was playing against Blackwing or Ryu Turbo or whatever, and they were just trying to inch their way in against a Raikou with a Vayu, but they're hitting a Hoplomys, that is very punishing for them.
It is.
So it has 2 completely different aspects where I could use charge to grab a Raikou, and then I could just set a Hoplomys. And they might read that, oh hey, it's Raikou face down, I'm just gonna run it over with something small.
Or vice versa. Use your Proving Ground to get that hops at the Raikou. Now it looks like Titanial might smoke your deck a little bit more than the average Gladiator Beast deck, but Titanials, I guess, are rare.
Yeah, I will say that sort of, but at the same time there's, for this for the variant that I'm trying to test and I'm working out, because now that I've gotten back into Edison after, like I said, after being gone for 14 months, I am working my way around that to be able to catch back up with what the current format is. Because I came back in, I had been out before Forgs or Gigavise were even like fully implemented into Edison in general. So I was just barely catching up to what they were when I was coming back in and I was playing.
So it sounds like maybe we'll see some new GB spice coming in the near future. Same idea, just a little bit different execution. Yeah, basically, this is what I like experimenting on. This is what I am ultimately messing around with currently to try and figure out what's the best way to execute. All Gladiator Beast forever. So are you a dedicated GB player then?
I would say I kind of play and mess with everything, but this is the deck that I'm looking at that would be like, okay, if I'm going to be playing something that is outside of Rogue that I want to be able to do well, this is the one that I'm trying to make work, just because and this is another mind game aspect, by the way, and honestly with game 2 you can kind of see that mind game come into play. is
Yeah.
that if I am running my deck as a gladiator beast deck, but it plays fundamentally different than what is expected of either like how Jake had his recent top build, or if you have a Prisma build, where the typical stuff that you would side in versus gladiator beast is not very good versus the decks that I'm playing, or versus the style of gladiator beast that I'm playing. So
It's
like
fair.
if you remember for game 2 that we had for the match that you showed, he sided in breakers, he sided in Sidrus, he sided in cards that would normally be good versus Gladiator Beast, but because of the stuff that I'm pulling with my deck, it does not really benefit the. It makes the opponent misstep with the way that they side and with the way that they play.
Yeah.
So
I think Indom just in general, like it's so close to just being like good enough as a one of in a regular gladiator, just like a more standard build. If people did end up running a single copy or something like that in a standard build, I would totally understand. I am a huge fan of Indomitable. Any card that just gives you a +1 is insane. Or making your
oh
recovery 2600, so good. But I think this match did a great job of showing the people something different from the more standard builds that we've been seeing that's having success in the past year or so. So, again, hey, Green, thank you very much for hopping on and showing this list, talking about it, talking your thought processes, and this great replay against this unknown duelist.
yeah, absolutely.
And we look forward to the next breakthrough on this style of deck. Again, just something different. You guys,
Yep.
thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and goodbye.